You're listening to the Biohackers World podcast.
Hey everybody, my name is Klaudia Balogh. I am a longevity journalist here at the Biohackers World Conference in Miami. And right here with me is Dr. Sogol Ash, functional medicine and longevity doctor. You are at the cutting edge of what is happening in longevity medicine. I mean, you advise to Niagen Biosciences. You are the medical director at ConciergeMD in LA. What are you seeing is happening in the longevity industry as we're literally in the middle of it?
It's booming, incredibly booming. I don't think we've ever seen it like where it's at right now. I think it's exploding with AI, with different lab companies, diagnostics, peptides. Everyone's talking about peptides. I've never seen anything like this, but I think it also creates more noise. I really try to cut through that noise and, talk from an expert's perspective, because there are a lot of people talking about things that aren't, they don't have the credentials. So I warn people about that. But it's such an incredible space to be in right now. It makes me happy that so many people are caring more about their health. They're thinking preventatively, and they want to change in how their healthcare is being delivered.
So true. And your experience in this field goes back to like years and years where you trained and traveled and studied under the UN, UNICEF. So your history goes way back into global levels. I want to talk a little bit about how that global experience is influencing your practice today.
Yeah, it's a great question. So before medical school, I did a master's in global medicine, and it really opened my eyes to how medicine is practiced around the world. And I think when you're younger and you're pre-med and you just want to be a doctor, you think that's the only way to help people, right? Yeah. There's this one track, and it just opened my eyes to there's so many other ways to help people. And that's what also started, what do I want to say? It showed me that I want to practice differently. It showed me what integrative medicine is, studying health around the world, studying different health ecosystems, how patients are treated all around the world really changed my views and really showed me that I want to practice a bit differently.
What are you seeing? What were some of the red flags that popped up years ago that were like, wow, that is not the path I want to take?
Yeah, so the time spent with the patient, the average of, 6 minutes. In some states, I'm seeing maybe 10 minutes, but the average time spent with the patient, there is no way to understand a patient the way I understand them if I only had 6 minutes with them.
That's true. How
is that even possible? That's one of the biggest red flags. I think the training, being trained just to treat symptoms and avoid, give a medication only, that's probably the biggest red flag. It's not. The training isn't about getting to the root cause. No one's asking, and a lot of doctors aren't asking about the foundations of health. What's your lifestyle? What's your diet? What are your stress levels? These things that are so important to health. I think that I hear patients come to me and say, my doctor said it doesn't matter what I eat. It doesn't matter if I'm constipated, I go to the bathroom once a week. And my jaw drops every time I hear these things.
That's wild. Okay. Going toward functional medicine, now you're looking at patient as a whole system, as a holistic, interconnected web. And as you mentioned in this longevity space, there is a lot of noise. Anytime something goes mainstream, a lot of people start to take advantage of buzzwords. And without the credentials, a lot of people can still go on TikTok and go on look at different reels and XYZ told me this, it's gotta be right. They've got 100,000 followers, whatnot. Do you still have to do a lot of education when a patient, a client comes to you about helping to extend their health span?
Yeah, I think there's, I get a range of clients. I get people who are kind of already biohackers and they're in the space and they know and they're doing a lot of the right things. And then I get people that have no idea and they rely on me, which is really my job. That is my job to quarterback their health, right? And to personalize the protocols. But there is a lot of education that goes on. I also get people that come with 20 different supplements, some more. I've seen 60 supplements at a time. Yeah, I've seen 12 different peptides. I've seen they're just doing everything. They're giving their body all these different things. And while those things may be good, it doesn't mean the combination is good or it doesn't mean it's right for them. So there's a lot of educating. And also if people come to me, like, you know, a lot of cases I see, they just want everything at once. And I have to educate them on the body's not going to respond to everything at once. We have to phase out a protocol. We have to work on certain foundations first. Or let's say someone has like dysautonomia, long COVID. They want to take all the peptides. I'm like, your body won't respond. It's not going to respond until we regulate your nervous system. And then sometimes they don't listen, and then they try, and then they call me and they're like, I can't move, you know? And I'm like, you have to, yeah. So it's like, you know, trust people that know what they're talking about to take care of you. You don't have to do it all yourself, right? There's people like me exist for a reason so that we can guide people in the best direction.
And I love that you mentioned that, because in this world of biohacking, there is that rabbit hole where people just go to these conferences and leave with 5 to 10 different supplements, and they start taking them all without even really truly knowing whether, one, their body responds to them well, can their body metabolize them at all, and how do they work synergistically. So what are some of the first steps that you encourage your patients and clients to do before putting them on any type of peptide protocol or stem cells or any of that more regenerative medicine approach?
Lab work, always lab work. So obviously we do a long consult, like at least an hour, where I'm getting to know the patient, and that triggers me to, you know, for each person kind of we'll do something different, but everyone needs lab work. We need data. We need to know what's going on in your body. So at the very least, a long kind of functional medicine lab panel, the ones we do over 100 biomarkers, and that's just the basics, right? And then if you want to get more deeper into it, doing genetic testing. I love having genetics because I take that, and then I take the biomarkers they have today, and then I take what they're telling me, and then I have all this data where I can tell them, all right, here's what's right for your body. And then there's so much more. There's toxin testing and gut health testing. And, you know, if it were up to me, we would definitely do a lot of tests. We can't do it for everyone. Not everyone needs every test either, but I would always say you need data. And you need a practitioner to be like, oh, these symptoms, because your labs can say one thing, but your symptoms might not match it, or your symptoms might be telling me something different. I got to listen to that. So I think working with the right person to integrate all of that and then create a personalized protocol, that's the game changer.
That is true. Now, I wonder, when it comes to all of these therapies that can be prescribed and protocols that can be planned out for 2, 3, 6 months at a time, do you try to get them to optimize their lifestyle, optimize their sleep, do a more of a remove all this junk first before we can add something that would initially take you to the next level?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I try to do it simultaneously, but absolutely for some people, you have to work on the foundations of health either during the protocol or just in phase one. Because so if someone is, you know, not sleeping well, not eating well, what's the point of doing all these beautiful peptides and all of that? Like 80% of it is the foundations of health. So we're always working on that, but I don't mind, you know, adding some NAD or optimizing mitochondria at the same time as we're working on the lifestyle. They can be synergistic. So I don't think it's one or the other, but certain cases, I won't introduce certain things until we get the, you know, the nervous system under control or the sleep under control. But I like to, you know, use the peptides therapeutically. I don't like to just think, oh, they're just anti-aging. No, they're therapeutic. Like, if we're using it, let's use it to their benefit. They're so wonderful.
And I love that you mentioned that there is a therapeutic aspect, because now that peptides are widely available across different websites, and there's a lot of information out there that can either be helping or confusing, but regardless, people can get access to it as much as they can get access to a lot of other types of supplements. But with peptides, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are certain protocols that should be followed in order to maximize their efficacy. Like, it's not something like, oh, I'm just going to start injecting myself and I'm just going to inject myself for the rest of my life. Like, what are your patients tend to come to you with, like, okay, I'm going to start on this peptide. What is obviously different for everybody, but a general understanding of a cycle?
Yeah, so general understanding, you know, most peptides you want to do at least 90 days to get a full benefit. And then a lot of them you cycle off, you know, maybe 2 weeks. Some people do 10 days. Some people do a month off. and then you can cycle back on. Certain ones, you know, people can do 6 months on. Like, it really just depends. Like, if someone's dealing with more chronic illness, and it's more of an immune regulation peptide, I probably won't cycle that right away. We'll stay on for a while. So it depends, but the general cycle, I would say 90 days at least to give it a chance, you know, to work.
Yeah.
And then sometimes from there we'll say, okay, maybe we'll add on another month and then take a break. It really depends on the person. But people who, you know, if you don't have a practitioner, that's how I would do it. I wouldn't just stay on for a long time.
Right.
You want your receptors to take a break from these things.
That makes perfect sense. And also, are you retesting multiple times a year, or is it like every 3 to 6 months?
Exactly. Every 3 to 6 months. So I like quarterly labs. Not everyone needs quarterly labs. So I think at the very least every 6 months. And then if we can do it quarterly, that's great. Sometimes it's just certain biomarkers. So if we're working on like heart health and thyroid health, we'll kind of just look at that. There's nuances to the lab testing. Not everyone can afford it. Not all insurances cover every lab. So it's a little more nuanced than that. But yeah, I try to check, you know, there's certain biomarkers I'm always tracking. Inflammatory markers, homocysteine, ApoB. There are certain ones that you, over time, you know, you'll really get an understanding of what's going on.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. I do want to get a little bit into energetics. There's a lot of buzz about if your emotional state is not at a certain like regulated level, then your body may not respond really well to some type of substances. So how steep is that educational curve to help people understand that your emotional well-being is just as important as your physical well-being? And how are you climbing that ladder?
It's really important. I would say think of it as more like just your nervous system, right? So fight or flight versus rest and digest. Fight or flight is that sympathetic nervous system. People these days are mostly living in that fight or flight. The body can't heal in fight or flight.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether you're emotionally distressed or you're just stressed out, whatever that state is, your body will not receive treatment in that state, or it's not going to receive it as well. Being more in the parasympathetic tone, rest and digest, that's when healing happens. That's even when we digest. You can't digest food if you're in fight or flight, right? So if you're, you know, meditating daily, that helps bring your nervous system to balance, helps ground you, helps regulate emotions as well. The other part is that sometimes there are things going on in the body that are dysregulating the nervous system. There's toxins will dysregulate the nervous system. So it could be this like negative feedback loop. You got to figure out what's the chicken or the egg. So for some patients, it's their gut health causing a lot of anxiety and depression, and it's not their fault. Yeah. So I have to, you know, sometimes I have to start there. Yeah. So again, this is where it's like, there's so much more to it.
It's like one of those things that where people say, it's all in your head, when it really is probably in your gut.
Exactly. Yeah. And some people, but the mindset's important too. Like I use for chronic illness patients, especially like things like Parkinson's and really, really like people that are really struggling, I have to work on their positivity as well. Right. True. And they see it. So when we do, you know, I have them do affirmations, they start seeing that they're healing, they're getting better quicker. But, you know, sometimes it takes a year for them to even do one thing like that because they don't believe me. They give me pushback. You know, some people listen and and then they're like, wow, I wish I did this earlier because, again, the body relaxes. The body feels safe. The body needs to feel safe to heal. So when you're doing these affirmations and you keep repeating things like that, different for everyone. Some people it's just going outside on a walk, whatever it is. But your body needs to feel safe in order to receive things.
And that's such an important point because safety in our brain can be disrupted so easily in our environment today. So many things in our environment gets perceived by our brain as a threat. So
even just all these pings on our phone every day, right? Like an alarm was meant to be for a threat. So think about it. We wake up with an alarm. Right. Yeah. We're getting pinged every day. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. Of course we don't feel safe, or of course we're in fight or flight.
Yes. It's crazy. It's something that I think, especially often what I see women having a hard time with. Personally, I have a hard time with down-regulating and really up-regulating parasympathetic in order for me to just not burn out over time. Do you have a lot of patients who deal with burnout? Do you burn out?
A lot, and great question. So, when I was younger, I experienced real burnout. Like, there's like stages of like HPA axis dysfunction or adrenal fatigue. And I got to stage 3, so I'm very mindful about not getting there. But don't get me wrong, I work really hard. And like, even though I know better sometimes, like that's just the state of life I'm in or the stage, right? Yeah. So I catch it quick. If I notice I'm burning out, I'm like, all right, what are we going to do right now? We need to slow down no matter what. And I have to put, boundaries with my team or, I don't want my patients to suffer. So I'm like, okay, what can I do to support myself? That's also why I keep up a lot with things like Niagen, like the IVs. I keep up with my wellness. I keep up with my morning grounding practice. Those things help me not burn out. Yeah. But I deal with a lot of founders who have burnout. They come to me and they're in stage 2 or some already in stage 3.
How do you, so I don't mean to squeeze the word inside you, but you're mentioning stage 2. What is the difference between those? Like, how do you identify I'm in stage 2 or I'm in stage 3?
Yeah, so like in functional medicine, we have HPA axis dysfunction, hypothalamic pituitary dysfunction. And that's kind of how we say adrenal fatigue in layman's terms, right? Stage 1, you're okay. You're maybe like kind of tired.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now.
That's where, Stage 2, though, is where I catch a lot of people, is I'm starting to see it on their labs, right? Their cortisol is starting to be affected. Their DHA is being affected. Their hormones are starting to dysregulate. They maybe don't feel super exhausted yet, but you're starting to see the signs, and it's showing on labs, though. So they're kind of there. Stage 3 is like, very hard to get out of bed, right? No matter how much you sleep, you're tired. The adrenals are really drained, constantly needing caffeine. No matter how much caffeine you have, then you're still not feeling better, right? Then the gut health starts suffering. So think like in stage 3, everything's affected. Like when the body burns out, then everything starts, the other systems are affected. Yeah.
It's like a very bad domino.
It is, but it's so prevalent, and it's often an underlying root cause of other issues that is not caught. Yeah. So like doctors aren't looking at DHA levels. DHA is a hormone. It's a precursor to a lot of our hormones, but to me, when it's super low, I can tell that the body's tired and the body's stressed out and it needs support.
How do you support it? I know there's got to be a million things.
Yeah.
But what is your like first and second step to go to for DHA support?
Yeah, so sometimes we replace DHA directly. So you just take DHA in low doses, sometimes in higher doses. I love to use adaptogens for the adrenal glands. Yeah. The adrenal glands respond so well to adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, rhodiola. They're literally meant to help our body better adapt to stress because we can't get rid of stress, right? So we want to work on our resilience to stress. Yeah. And that's a big part of it. So adaptogens help with that. Those are some of my go-tos. Contrast therapy. So alternating hot and cold, even if it's just in the shower. You don't have to do sauna cold plunge. That's great. That's going to help as well. And then being outside, getting outside first thing in the morning is going to help regulate your cortisol. You need your eyes to be exposed to natural light. Whether it's sunny or not, that's going to help regulate as well.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned so many basic stuff.
Right? They're so basic.
So many basic stuff. And most of it is free, unless we're looking at supplements. But most of it is like freaking free.
Yeah.
One more minute.
1 more minute? Okay. I wanted to, 1 more minute, not a lot of time, but I do want to ask a little bit about why are you loving Niagen Plus IVs?
Great question. I love Niagen because it absorbs so quickly. It's researched, so it's really clinically backed, and that's important to me. Clinically, also just the responses I see from myself and from my patients. It's not an uncomfortable IV, so your cells take it up quick. You can do it fast, and you don't really have an inflammatory response like a lot of people can with regular NAD IVs, which those are good too. Yeah. I'll do NAD injections on myself like throughout the month, and then I'll do the IVs like every other week if I can, like twice a month to keep myself going. But it's really just the results you see.
That's really cool. Do you feel the results for an extended? I think I heard friends talk about it, how they feel like a superhuman for like a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so some people feel it for longer, but it does get absorbed quickly. So I think about a week is like a really nice way. But it's also when you're working on your mitochondria consistently, or if you're replenishing it consistently, you should keep feeling those effects too long term. But your body does take what it needs and gets rid of the rest. So if you're just doing it one time, you're not going to feel that forever.
Yeah. Very cool. So many things to unpack. I could sit here with you for another hour and a half.
Me too. I wish we had more time.
I know. But I think our time is up. But people can find you in so many different places, so please share.
Yes. Very active on social media, Dr. Sogol Ash. Our website is ConciergeMDLA.com. We're a nationwide practice. Work with patients one-on-one directly. And then those are probably the best ways.
Awesome. Reach out to her. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Sogol.
you. This was so nice.
I'm already looking forward to the next events in 2026. Los Angeles and to Chicago and to New York. And I know in January after there's going to be Miami as well.